Good morning, everyone. This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. A wonderful lesson to share today, Vivid for Life. Very simple idea for today. We are done. We are done with all of the material in blah, 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 everything we need to know about vivid thinking and how to be both verbal with our fox and visual with our lovely little hummingbird. But we have just gotten started. Now that we have the tools of being vivid, now's the time to unroll them into the world. And why is that? Because there are still a lot of people out there that are generating material that look like this and calling it a user manual. When wouldn't it be much nicer if we could have a user manual that looked like that? There are still a lot of people out there collecting lots of data and it looks like that, when what we really want to have is the insight that comes from that data and says this thing equals this amount and this thing equals this amount and this equals this amount, and I can compare them. And let's face it, there are a lot of people out there that are mapping out processes and coming out with things that are extraordinarily complex, and what we really want to be able to do is take a look at that process and say, I can make something that I can look at and understand exactly what it is I'm supposed to do. So lots of opportunity for us to be vivid as we go out there. And what I wanted to share with you today, a very simple way to review everything. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here's what I mean. Vivid thinking, of course, is really just one big idea. And the idea is we do live in a world which is so loud and so busy, it gets very, very difficult for any one of our ideas to be heard. And what we want to do is move from this world to this world. 2, we've got two characters involved. We've got our fox that represents our verbal mind, our desire to think in terms of words in a kind of a linear A to B to C fashion. And we've got our hummingbird who represents our visual mind, who likes to look at things in a very spatial way. And then we've got 3 tools. We've got the blablometer, that's going to help us be able to listen very carefully to the words that are coming in and make sure that they make sense. And then we've got Vivid Grammar, which is going to allow us to turn any words into a set of simple and parallel and complementary pictures. And then we've got the Vivid Forest, which allows us to take any idea that we have, no matter how complex, spend some time with it running through these 6 steps and come out with an idea which is incredibly clear. So those really are the 3 tools that we're going to fall back upon repeatedly as we try to make our world more clear and more vivid. Then we've got 4 tactics that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. 4 very quick ways we can add vivid thinking into our life. The first one is go ahead and just use the vivid checklist. Make sure that as we're coming up with an idea, we've hit on all of the aspects that make it vivid. Number 2 is, if we want to test our idea afterwards, run through the checklist backwards and make sure that if we think our idea is as diamond-like as it can be, that we run back through and confirm that it really is. Tactic number 3, let's go ahead and make our story maps. As we're looking at a complex process or problem, let's just create a map that starts out by showing who the people are. And if we can get the people nailed down, the rest of the situation will eventually start to become clear. And then tactic number 4, let's have our meeting master picture. Before we go into a meeting, we've got to explain an idea to these people. Let's think through in advance what our perfect picture is going to be and draw that one when we get in the meeting. And that meeting is going to be electric. So those are 4 tactics, 4 things you could do this afternoon or you could do tomorrow to integrate vivid thinking into your work and your life. And then there are 4 bigger strategies. The big picture things we can do to make sure that we're really integrating vivid thinking into the way we operate. And the first, of course, is to be double-minded. When we think about things, let's remember we need to think in words, and of course, we need to think in those pictures. And once we've created an idea that is verbal and visual, it's an incredible way for that idea to go viral. Spread it around the world by making sure that people can see it. And then let's go ahead and be our own chief simplicity officer. Or maybe we're lucky enough to be able to actually hire one into our company. The person whose job it is to keep things simple. And then last of all, big strategy. Let's remember to pay proper respect to our hummingbird, because although we may have lost a lot of respect for the power of visual thinking lately, we know how powerful being able to see the world really is. And to cap it all off, we've got one big checklist, which all of you have access to, that takes us from having that rough idea, as many steps as we think are necessary, to take us right through making sure that it is perfectly clear. That's what we've been talking about for the last year, and now it's time to all go out into the world and make it real. So here's the way I'd like to think about it. Open up your conceptual briefcase. Pack into that briefcase all the tools and all of the checklists and all of the ideas that we've got, and take that briefcase and let's head back out into the world. And I want to leave you with a little bit of inspiration about how vivid thinking really can change everything. First story, I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter books. They're really magnificent. All created by J.K. Rowling, who a year ago stopped writing the Harry Potter books and wrote a completely new book. This book, The Casual Vacancy, completely different, has nothing to do with wizards. But the amazing thing is, here you have the most successful author of the last decade, the second wealthiest woman in the United Kingdom, all because she wrote books. And she only gave 2 interviews prior to releasing The Casual Vacancy. One interview was to the New York Times, and one interview was to the New Yorker. And what I found really remarkable is if you look in the New Yorker review, the first quote from the most successful author is, "I have drawn a map. It's one of the first things I did." Now this is a writer. I have drawn a map. I think this is just fantastic, because here we have someone that is acknowledged as one of the world's great verbal thinkers, telling us she first thinks visually. Isn't that incredible? So it's perhaps not surprising that J.K. Rowling, in order to even write the book, had to create a map that looks like this. This is actually her map of the book, The Order of the Phoenix, showing everything that's happening in time. Now, all of us that have been through the Napkin Academy lessons will recognize that what this really is it is a combination of a timeline with a map. And we've got the two, so I know who are my characters, and I know when in time they're in what particular location doing what. Well, that's interesting to know that J.K. Rowling started out her writing by drawing this kind of a map, but I don't think that's the kind of map she was referring to. It's only recently that people have become aware that J.K. Rowling draws everything. And here is her map that she drew of Hogwarts, the place where the Wizard Academy is located. And look at that. It's not a particularly beautiful map. We can see that there's a tree. We can see that here's the castle. This is a map that any one of us could have drawn. Think about this. If we're going to write a complex story, maybe the best thing to do is start out by drawing a picture of where it takes place. But those aren't all the drawings that J.K. Rowling's done. This is her drawing of the baby Harry Potter. Who knew? Just last week, her hand-annotated Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the first book, sold at auction for 150,000, whoops, wrong symbol, 150,000 pounds, which is roughly $225,000. That's a pretty good price to receive for having just sketched out in a book, isn't it? But it turns out that's not all of it, because J.K. Rowling also released a couple of years ago 7 handwritten and hand-drawn copies of her smaller book. She only auctioned off one of them. And you want to know how much money she received? 2 million pounds. I think it's just breathtaking. Most successful writer in the world turns out to be one of the most successful drawers in the world. And my second favorite story. As we all know, the very first drawings to appear on the wall of caves, France and Spain. These are the oldest found so far in the cave of Chauvet. 32,000 years old. A beautiful, simple, vivid sketch of a bull. Well, let's jump forward to 5,000 years ago now, and here's another bull drawn by a completely different group of people in a completely different place. This is a bull from Egyptian hieroglyphics. This bull, in fact, might have appeared in a piece of stone carving just like this. Nice hieroglyphic. And what a bull meant in Egyptian, ancient Egyptian, was it meant a bull. Well, around that time, there was a group of seafaring people that were coming from the other side of the Mediterranean called the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians had incredible ships, traded throughout the entire Mediterranean, and traveled a lot, and were, of course, trading with the Egyptians as well. And one of the things that these Phoenicians did is they took the head of that Egyptian bull because they thought it was really beautiful, and they decided to make that part of the Phoenician alphabet. In Phoenician, the word for ox was Alf. So when you saw this symbol, you'd say Alf. Well, those Phoenicians thought that it was too hard to draw, so they simplified the head of the bull down to this shape right here. So the bull head looks like this. There's the face, there's the horns. Well, and the Phoenicians then rotated that over time and came up with the symbol that looked like this. So here we have our bull, simplified, rotated, and remember the name was Alf. So this symbol starts to take the name Aleph. There's a reason why we call the Latin alphabet today a phonetic alphabet, because the Phoenicians decided at some point that they wanted to remove the meaning of the picture from cow and just have it mean the sound. So the sound for this symbol becomes the sound Alf. And we see that in Phoenician writing. Here's that letter being used. Here's that letter being used. The Greeks came along and took that letter, rotated it one more time, and simplified it even more, and gave us Alpha, appearing in the Greek alphabet. And if we jump forward the 3,000 years since then, we have come to the letter A. And there we have the 32,000-year history of just one of the letters in our alphabet. And at this point, the drop of the picture and the arrival of just the word, and we have the alphabet that we have today. And I think, isn't it incredible? Look what we've been able to do. The combination of drawing, turning that into these various symbols, and coming up with this symbol that now is so universal it can be typed digitally, it can go on a keyboard, what have you. Magnificent. But at the same time, haven't we perhaps lost something? What have we sacrificed in our run to try to simplify language? We've lost our ability to think visually. I don't want to end on a sad note. I want to say this is the real purpose of us thinking about how to become vivid. Because what we really need to do is we need to wake up the visual side again, have the visual work with the verbal, and now we know that our thinking is going to be absolutely complete. So the next time that someone might say to you, no pictures allowed, words only, or the next time one of your children or a friend who has kids and the child tells you, you know, I tried to draw in class today and the teacher said, no, we couldn't do that. We only had to write things out. If you ever hear anything like that, I want you to say absolutely no. No, no, no. Words are great, but words are only great when they are absolutely complemented by the pictures that our entire visual mind is there to see. And you can cite something called the picture superiority effect, which simply tells us that in terms of activating the processing centers in our brain, a picture activates orders of magnitude more than a single word. If we really want to understand something, we're going to use both. And that brings us to the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, associates, and all the followers of the Napkin Academy, I congratulate you on the attention that you've paid. I've had an extraordinary amount of fun, and what I'd like all of you to do is go ahead and download your diploma and fill it out. You have completed our lessons of being verbal and being visual and knowing our grammar and knowing our forest. Hey, thank you all for another great lesson. This is Dan signing off from the Napkin Academy, but don't go away. Now on our new platform, you can still submit your homework. Debbie, our community manager, is going to join you right now to show you exactly how to do that, and I really encourage you, do your homework. Okay, take it away, Debbie. See you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this Napkin Academy classic video. We've made it easier than ever to share your homework. After you've completed your homework and have a JPEG or PNG file saved on your computer, come back to this course. Once you're back here, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and in the comments box, you can add a comment. I'm just going to call this one My Homework. You can also add images by clicking on the Insert Edit Image button here. In the source box, click on the file. In the Images window, click on Upload, and then click on Add Files. This is going to take you to your computer where you can search for your images. I'm just going to search for mine in Pictures, and I'm going to choose this image here. You can also add multiple images here. Click Upload. After the upload is complete, click Close. Then scroll down, and you'll see that the last image is here, and it's checked. This is the one we just uploaded. Click Insert. I suggest in the dimensions box you change the maximum to 1200 pixels and leave the constrained proportions box checked. You can also add an image description here if you'd like. Click OK. You'll see that your image has been added to your comment. And now the last step, the most important one, make sure that you click the green comment button here to upload your homework to the Napkin Academy. We hope to see your homework soon.